This is the roast battle nobody saw coming, and it left the whole room in total silence before the explosion of laughter. Clint Eastwood is known for his quiet calm and deadly stare. But tonight, he brought the fire with words, and Jimmy Kimmel never saw it coming. It all started when Jimmy Kimmel made a small joke about Clint Eastwood during his opening monologue. Something light, something harmless, or so he thought. Jimmy looked into the camera and said, "Clint Eastwood is in the building, so you know what that means. The lights just dimmed because the man brings his own shadows." The audience laughed. Clint didn't. The camera cut to Clint, who gave Jimmy the classic Eastwood stare, the kind that makes villains rethink their entire life decisions. And Jimmy chuckled nervously and said, "Just kidding, we love you, Clint." But Clint didn't blink. Later in the show, Jimmy invited Clint on stage for a chat, and that's when things got real. Clint walks out slow, confident, wearing a dark jacket and a stare sharp enough to cut through commercial breaks. Jimmy says, "Welcome, Clint, the legend himself," and Clint sits down, slowly looks at Jimmy, and says, "Legend is a word for people who aren't finished working. I'm not here to be honored. I'm here because someone told me you had something funny to say." The crowd went ooh. Jimmy tried to laugh it off and said, "Well, I've got a few jokes lined up," and Clint replies, "Good, I've got a few truths lined up. Let's see which one lands harder." Jimmy smiles nervously and says, "All right, let's roast each other, friendly fire only." Clint leans in and says, "Son, if you fire jokes like you host shows, I should have brought a vest." The crowd erupts. Jimmy tries to recover and fires back, "You know Clint is so tough he flosses with barbed wire." Clint doesn't smile. Instead, he says, "That's true, and you cry when your internet lags." More laughter. Jimmy says, Okay, I see how. You come on my show and roast me with my own audience," and Clint responds, "If you had my audience, they'd be awake." And it just keeps going. Jimmy says Clint's movies are slow-paced because it takes him a while to remember the script, and Clint hits back, "You talk fast to cover up the fact that none of it means anything." The crowd can't handle it. They're clapping, stomping, and even Jimmy is laughing through the burn. Clint looks over and says, "Jimmy, you're a funny guy, but if I wanted to see a comedian dodge real punches, I'd watch a clown in a boxing ring." Jimmy asks, "Do you like any modern comedy?" And Clint replies, "I like when it ends." Boom. Then Jimmy asks, "What do you think of my hosting skills, Clint?" Clint says, "You're like a traffic light at 3 a.m. always blinking, but nobody's paying attention." And the crowd goes wild again. But then Clint pauses and says, "But I'll give you credit. You show up every night, and that counts for something, even if the jokes don't." The audience laughs and claps. Jimmy smiles and says, "I take that as a compliment," and Clint responds, "That's your first missed."